Hey there, it's Crystal Lopez here from crystalandcomp.com, and today I'm going to show you how to take all of these ingredients and we are going to make homemade stroganoff. You might refer to it as beef stroganoff, but we're going to make it today with ground turkey, and we're going to throw together some delicious homemade rolls. Dinner is going to be fantastic. All right, so you want to gather up your ingredients. You are going to need the things that I am showing you here, and I am actually using some of the clearance ground turkey that I bought at Walmart on my recent grocery haul, which is just a couple of videos ago. So just like any good savory dish that we make here, it starts with onions, garlic, and olive oil. So right now we're going to cut up our onion. And while I'm working on that, I wanted to tell you that this recipe, you can actually get it over on, actually it's not on my site. It's on a site that I share with my business partner, Kelly, thespeedygourmet.net. The recipe for this is over on that site. If you will look up Instant Pot beef stroganoff, that is, I will leave a link to it down in the description box. That is the, I actually created that recipe over on that site, and I'm doing a version of it here, but I'm doing it on the stovetop instead. I'm making a couple of revisions. I pulled out some half and half and some milk, which I ended up not using, but I did pull them out of the fridge to have, because I was not sure how I wanted to do kind of the creamy part of the stroganoff. I ended up just mostly using the Greek yogurt. But I kind of like to switch things up a little bit and just, as I'm making it, get a feel for the flavors that I want it to be. So I had those sitting here, but I ended up not using them. Now, if you did not have Greek yogurt, or you only had a little bit of Greek yogurt, you could certainly use some half and half or some heavy whipping cream or milk to kind of stretch it out a little bit, or if it gets too thick, to thin it out a little bit. So here I am chopping up the garlic, the fresh garlic, but you absolutely can use jarred garlic, or if you don't have either of those, you could use powdered garlic as well. Any of it will work. We just want to make sure that we've got some good savory flavors going on with the ground meat as we're cooking it. Now, I'm using ground turkey. The original recipe uses ground beef. You could use ground chicken. You could even use ground pork if you wanted to. Whatever you have, you can use it. It'll turn out great. All right. So I like to use I call this a Dutch oven. I think that's what it is. I love this thing. I bought it at HEB years. Actually, no, look at me. I'm again saying something wrong. I had a blue one that I bought at HEB, and I ended up giving it to someone because my mother-in-law gave me this yellow one about probably 5 years ago, and it's bigger than the blue one that I had, and I really, really liked the size of it, and so I didn't need both of them, so I gave the other one away, and I kept this one. Now, we had these mushrooms that were already pre-sliced, and I'm realizing that they are not pre-washed. I thought they were pre-washed. I am like, I'm a little shocked that these are pre-sliced but not pre-washed. So I'm having to pick them out because I realized they were dirty as I was putting them in there. And I read the package, and it did say that they needed to be washed. So I was a little frustrated with that. Oh well, God made dirt, and dirt don't hurt, right? We all lived. Anyway, I do feel like mushrooms are a pretty important part to stroganoff. If you don't have them, it's okay, but I do feel like they're kind of a staple in this recipe. You could also use jarred mushrooms if that is all that you have on hand, but I really would use mushrooms. Make sure that you put them in this recipe because it's kind of the staple to all of this. So we're doing this on the stovetop over a medium heat with the olive oil, the onion, the garlic, and the mushrooms, and then I'm also getting a big pot of salted water going, and I'm going to eventually, when the water starts boiling, I will cook my egg noodles in that until they're al dente. Give me a minute. I'm going to put my dogs out. Hold on just a second. All right. Also, I love my meat masher. That is a Pampered Chef one. Many different brands make them. You can get them on Amazon all day long. They are essential to any ground meat that you're making. Having one of those meat choppers it makes the job so much easier. Okay, so I decided on a whim. I was like, you know what? I would really like to have some homemade rolls with this. That sounds really delicious. So that's what we're going to do here. We are going to make homemade rolls. I've got everything on hand to do it, and I actually didn't even need a bread machine for this particular recipe. Some rolls you need a bread machine for, or you can utilize a bread machine, and some you don't need one, and some don't even take very much rise time. These turned out pretty good. They are dense, but not as dense as some rolls that I made a few days later. I'm learning, I'm making mistakes and having to kind of adjust as I go. And, it results in some unique, and it results in some unique bread and dinner rolls. But they were really delicious and we enjoyed them, but they were not, so far the 2 rolls recipes that I've made, neither of them really look like the picture. They're much more dense. And I think it might be because I am using bread flour and not all-purpose flour. And I feel like the only time that I really need to use bread flour, is if it specifically calls for it. Otherwise, I think I'm supposed to be using all-purpose. So I don't know. So the end results for this recipe, the picture looked very fluffy. And these didn't exactly turn out like that, but they were very good. And they were honestly very, very filling. I'm also learning that there's a difference in, active yeast, and there's a couple of different types of yeast, I guess, like fast rising and then active, I think. I don't know off the top of my head, but those can obviously cause some differences in your end results. And maybe I wasn't supposed to be stirring this like this either. Maybe that could have impacted it as well. But you know what? I'm not going to, the more that I try to make bread at home, I know that I'm opening myself to more opportunities for making errors, but this is a learning process, and at some point I'll be really good at it. So that's just kind of the way that I look at it. Anyway, we're using that meat chopper to, I like for my ground meat to be, I don't like it super clumpy. So that is what I love about the meat chopper. All right, so as I said, we're not using a bread machine for this. We're actually going to use the dough hook and let the dough hook do the kneading for us. And there's not a huge amount of yeast rising time. So I'm following what the directions said, and I am getting this all mixed up. And things are looking good and smelling good. Smelling like a bakery in my house. And I'm just following the directions. Okay, adding more flour as it has instructed, and then we're actually going to get our pan ready. I sprayed it with some olive oil spray so that the dough doesn't stick. And then the directions said to just take the dough and divide it up into 12 even balls, and we're going to just kind of roll them a little bit. I've watched some videos since that have really said, instead of rolling them like that, to do more of like a pull from the center and pinch kind of thing, or I guess pull to the center. Again, learning. We ate all of these. There was nothing left. My kids actually really liked them. But we're going to make 12 even bread balls and then put a towel over it and let them rise a little bit more. So really, I should have made these in the middle of the day. They're still it's a fast roll to make, but I definitely should have made these earlier in the day, because now dinner is just waiting on this kind of thing. The dinner on the stovetop is almost done. And these rolls still need a little bit of time to rise and then to bake, but we live and we learn, right? All right, so I'm just going to cover this with a towel. Like I'd said, this is a hand towel that's clean, and just let those rolls rise a little bit. All right, so we are adding some thyme, and we are adding some of that dry onion soup mix and some salt and pepper to this mix, as well as some Worcestershire sauce. And the water is just about ready for, there you go, for the noodles to be added to it. And then we're also going to add some broth. So obviously if you were using ground beef, you would add beef broth. Since we're doing ground turkey, I'm adding some chicken broth. And then I'm also going to add some Greek yogurt, or you could do sour cream, or you could do some of the combinations that we talked about earlier. You do want to be careful. You don't want your heat to be too high, because, oh, I ended up adding a little bit of half and half. I forgot that I did that. You don't want for this to be at a super high heat when you're adding the dairy, because the dairy will start to break down and separate, and it looks kind of gross. It's still edible. It still tastes fine, but I guess the proteins get overheated in the dairy and they start to break apart. So eyeball this. If you need to add more, if you want it creamier, add some more of the olive or the Greek yogurt or sour cream. Get it to the consistency that you like. And I always taste test a little bit, whether I'm making something like stroganoff or a soup or a spaghetti. I always taste a little bit before I serve it. Does it need more salt? Are the other seasonings on point? Does it taste like I want it to taste? I always make myself a tiny little dish and just taste it and see if it needs anything else. So that is done, and now at this point it tastes great. We are just waiting on the dinner rolls. I did go ahead and open up a can of peas. I wanted something green to go with this. Do whatever you want. Mixed veggies, peas, green beans, some broccoli, or just serve it up by itself, or you could also have a salad. I do like to add a little bit of butter and some salt and pepper to my canned vegetable, whether it's peas or green beans or whatever I'm making on the stovetop. And I had a kid that was starving, so I went ahead and made him a plate real quick, and he didn't want any veggies. So, all right, this is what it looks like when it's done. It is really, really fantastic. And it stores well in the fridge, so that you can eat it the next day for lunch or eat it in a couple of nights. I really need to clean my oven out. So here are the rolls. They are looking good. Look at how delicious that is. And then I just put a little bit of butter on top. They were really hot, so the butter just melted. But they really were very delicious. They were just very solid, so they were very filling. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But really, if you have yeast and flour, you could make these rolls. They were so simple. I will leave some information in the description box. And we're just going to serve that with our dinner. Super delicious. You could also serve it with some honey if you wanted to. All right, there you have it. There is the turkey, ground turkey stroganoff, some peas, a dinner roll. Absolutely delicious. This is how we used up our clearance turkey meat that we found at Walmart last week that was expiring that day, and I brought it home and put it in the freezer so that it wouldn't go bad. All right, there you have it, guys. Let me know if you try it. Let me know what kinds of recipes you are looking for. Thanks for watching our video today, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.